Cool. Hi everyone. Sorry about the little start late. Can you just write in the chat if you can hear me? All right. Okay, so I'm going to assume if Genevieve can hear me, everyone else can. So I'm just going to start. Okay, so I hope that's okay. So hi, so my name is Kofi. This is a webinar called Alteryx and Tableau Best in Class. So basically, this is going to be a fairly kind of like an intro into Alteryx and Tableau. Okay, awesome, great. So yeah, this is going to be an intro into Alteryx and Tableau, two pieces of software that we use here at the Information Lab. So yeah, so my name is Kobe Pontu. My email is there. I am a consultant at the Information Lab. I'm part of the data school. So our problems that we'll be working with today is we have Airbnb data in a CSV format, which contains active listings in London. So we're gonna look at the data, use Alteryx to kind of change it and change the formatting into a way that we're happy with, and then we will use Tableau to visualize that. So so we'll start off by kind of I'll just go through the deck first and then kind of show you exactly what we'll be doing. So yeah, so that's today's agenda. So just kind of like walking through how Alteryx and Tableau work together, and then using this Airbnb use case to kind of showcase Alteryx, and then using the output that we get from that Alteryx workflow in Tableau and visualizing it that way. Feel free to, if you do have any questions while I'm going through this, just please add it into the chat and I'll take a look at it and either stop what I'm saying at the moment or maybe save it to the end. So best in class. So if you can see here, this is the different kind of different platforms that you can, different like softwares that you can use. So we've got a quadrant here with challengers, leaders, visionaries, and niche players. So as you can see, Tableau is in the leaders industry. So it's behind Microsoft, but it's still very good at what it does. And it's, yeah, a very useful kind of like fairly easy to understand and pick up tool. And then we've got Alteryx over here in the ETL kind of area, which is kind of in the challenges on its way to leaders. So well, this is as of November 2018. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the next time this is updated, it be more in the leaders area. So we've got different kind of, well, for data visualization tools, we've got Microsoft Power BI here. There's Click, Salesforce, which SAP, SAS. Those are kind of like the more well-known kind of like data visualization tools. And then there's just some more different ETL kind of stuff over here, which is not as well known, but we'll keep going. So you can just see there from the quadrants that basically Alteryx and Tableau are very good at what they do, and they are one of the top in their own respective brackets for like data visualization and data like transformations. So how Tableau and Alteryx works together is we use Alteryx for data discovery. So we've got bringing data into Alteryx. It allows us to, as you can see here, so it allows us to profile the data and the tools so we can kind of understand the data at a deeper level. But then Tableau can do the kind of the same thing, but in a more visual way, which is really useful for looking at outliers because it is in a way that you can see a lot clearer than just it being a line in a table, which you'll most likely see in other stuff like in Excel and even Alteryx for this case. But Alteryx isn't really what we use that for, although you can use it as well. But we kind of usually use Tableau to kind of visualize any kind of things like this, so like outliers and things that you should be kind of looking out for and just delving into the data a little bit more. So, and step 2 is data preparation and analysis. So Alteryx is a data ETL tool, which is extract, transform, load. So it's basically pulling in data from loads of different areas that can be flat files, that can be from databases, from lots of different areas, and then transforming it and kind of outputting it into a format that is easily, depending on where you're going to go. Most of the time, like for this example, we'll be using Tableau. So it will be in a format that Tableau is better to use in, because it makes more sense to transform the data into a way that wherever the output is going to be put into to kind of use, then kind of forcing that tool to kind of fit how the information is presented. So you always want to change it so that where that output is going to be inputted, it works a lot better. So yeah, so that's basically the main thing. Yeah, oh, that's a good point. So that's basically the pack for this. You'll see the actual information later, but this is all so this has got the slide deck in here. It's also got the inputs and outputs and the different examples we'll use, because I'll be going through it already, but there's the complete version there as well. So there's lots of resources to look through. But yeah, we'll keep going. So yeah, Alteryx is great for data prep and analysis. It's also a really powerful predictive and spatial tool. Won't be doing predictive today, but we will kind of briefly look over some spatial stuff, especially with the Airbnb data having some latitude and longitude. So we'll go through that quickly. And then, so once you've done the data prep and you've now outputted it, you've then got step 3, which is data visualization. So once the data is clean, it gets, we'll use Tableau for this. So it gets output into Tableau, and then you can use that cleaned up data to visualize it and make your analysis a lot more visual and a lot easier to understand, and a lot more interactive and a lot more appealing to kind of delve through as well. So we'll keep going. So yeah, so after this, we do have talk data, where we do a lot of training sessions at the Information Lab. So you can follow our Meetup page, and also kind of, so there's the Meetup Let's Talk Data, and I think that's the link to take you there as well. So there are further and more kind of advanced, or even beginners, like basically beginner all the way up to advanced teaching sessions that we do at the Information Lab. So that's something else. Yeah, so okay, so we'll stop there and actually start going through some examples. Any questions so far? I'll take that as a no. So this is the data that we'll be looking at. So this is the listings for Airbnb in London. So you can see we've got the ID, the name, host. So we've got the latitude and longitude columns here, the type of room, price, minimum nights, and some number of reviews, last reviews. So as you can see here, it's kind of difficult to kind of see, kind of get a grasp of what's going on. So there's a couple other, so we're going to take this and we want to visualize this in Tableau, but there's a couple of things that we don't really need. So we don't need the last review, reviews per month, and calculated host listing count. So we're going to use Alteryx beforehand to kind of just clean this up and get it to a format that that we're happy with, that we can use in Tableau. So I'm going to open up my Alteryx. And this is kind of the workflow that we will basically be finished with. So you can see it's not a complicated workflow, but we've got a different couple of things that we can kind of work with. So we'll start with the starter workflow. So this is, like I said, already in that link that I posted in the chat. So if you want, well, you can't really use Alteryx, but yeah, all this information is there. So we're going to have the input. So I'll delete this and show you how it gets started. So we're going to input listings of London Airbnb rooms. So we're going to go up to the shelf up here, and we're going to go to the in and out. So you can see we've kind of matched the box, the comment boxes with the kind of colors of the tools. So all the input tools are in this in and out, which again is green. And then we've got some kind of like transformation prep tools, which is up here in the shelf with the blue. And then we've got a matching and a joining tool, which is purple, which again is in the purple shelf. You can see all these tools that have something to do with joining different bits of data together are also purple. And then again, the output is green, which is an in and out shelf. So we'll start with the inputs. So we'll go to input data, and everything that you see in Alteryx is a drag and drop. So I'm basically going to the in and out shelf. I'm going to go to input data and drag it into onto the canvas. So this is just the canvas that you can see here. So all workflows go from left to right. It just makes everything a lot more easier to kind of see what's going on. So I'm going to now locate my London Airbnb CSV file. So I'm going to go to Files, and then it is there. You can go Inputs and Listings, and there we go. So if I now press Run, which is kind of how we see. Another thing with Alteryx, you can't run it. You can't kind of like use the workflow while the thing that you're looking at is already open. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to run it again, and that's why I got the error here. I'm going to run it again, and it's now fine. So we'll just add a browse tool to this. So this is kind of what we're seeing. So this is how we basically saw the CSV. It's just being read into Alteryx like this, basically the same way. And then we're looking over, so we've got this data quality pane here, which is just saying how the column is kind of the different kind of quality of that column. So it's 100% green. So as you can see, the OK is 100% here. And if we look at last review, you can see there's some nulls. So if we click on this, you can see that 75% of it is OK and 25% has nulls. And you can kind of see everything's kind of put into buckets here. It doesn't really make too much sense. Yeah, so there's nothing's really grouped together. These are all individual kind of like dimensions, but let's see. Yeah, so it kind of just bins everything together. As you can see for this particular column, calculated post listing, the majority is 1, and you can see the count if you hover over it as well. So it's just a good idea to kind of quickly kind of see what your data set is kind of looking at. But again, this is not the best data set to kind of use for that, because there's no kind of correlation between these. Okay, so first what we're going to do, I'm just going to move this out here. You can basically, everything is is movable. You can drag and drop everything just to kind of clean it up and make everything a little bit easier to see. So first thing we're going to do is check the data types. So sometimes, even though this looks like the ID here looks like a number, or these may look like numbers, it hasn't been read as a number. Sometimes it's just a string. So if you're going to use any calculations which it needs to be a number, we'll have to go in and change that. So I'm going to use the select tool, which is how we check the data types. And I've taken this anchor here. You can see there's an output anchor here, and there's an input anchor there. And I'm basically just dragging and dropping from the input to the output. So I'll just do that again. So I've got the input here. You can see as I click on it, it kind of gets a little bit bigger, and then just drag it and drop to the input anchor, and then release, and it's now connected to the tools. And you can see there's now a link between the two. So I'm going to click on this select tool. And like I was saying, so now if we look at this, this is saying these types are all strings. So we need a couple of these to be numbers. So especially like things like price, we might need to analyze the prices and the latitude and longitude. So what we're going to do is just go down and just change this numbers into numbers instead of being strings. So there's a load of different data types, as you can kind of see here. We're more interested in a double because that allows decimal points. If we use integers, they have to be integers, which are just whole numbers. So potentially you may further down the line have a number that is decimal point and it won't work or won't register properly. So generally when you're using numbers, a double is a good data type to kind of use. So I'm just going to change these. The name is a string, so that's fine. The host ID, we can also change to a double. So I'm just going to do that. And you can kind of see it's telling me what I've changed by highlighting in red. Host name is a string, latitude and longitude. Let's change that to doubles. Room type is a string. Price needs to be double. We don't really care about the number of reviews. So I'm going to deselect that from the workflow. And the way you do that is basically just clicking on the tick box there. And now that is deselected. So moving on with this tick deselected, that field is no longer, that column is no longer part of the data set. So again, we also don't need last review or reviews per month. And let's get rid of calculated host listings and availability. We might need minimum line, so let's just leave that in there for now. So if I then press run, so when I now look at my output, you can look at the output by just clicking on the output anchor, or you can right click and we can drag a browse onto it as well, like that. So there's different ways to view it. So we'll just look at the browse tool. So now you can see from here, we've now got rid of these last columns at the end, and we've just got the ones that we want. And if I look at it, it's now saying this host ID is a double instead of a string how it was beforehand. So I'm just going to move this up here. Just give this. Okay, so following this previously done workflow, we want to have minimum nights equaling at least 1 and number of reviews greater than 10. So the way that we do this is by using a filter tool. So I'm going to go again, this is a blue comment field. So we're going to go to the blue tools and click a filter. I'm going to put this here, just drag it and drop it onto the canvas. And again, use dragging the output anchor and connecting it to the input anchor. So, okay, so I've got rid of a field that I need. So I'm just going to go back to the select tool and reselect number of reviews. So, and then if I run the workflow, when I now connect to this, number of reviews is back. So we wanted number of reviews to be above 10. So we're going to go to our filter tool and go down to number of reviews. And then it's now registered this as a numeric field, and it will give you a different number of drop downs. So you've got equals, doesn't contain. So these are all relevant to like a number. So if we were to pick room type, or name. Okay, well, we'll go back to minimum nights. So we need to, no, we want number of views, sorry. So we're going to go to equals, we want more than 10. So we're going to go, just make this bigger. And I'm just going to press run. So if I click on, there's a T and an F. So that is saying the true and the false. So I've gone number of views is more than 10. So if we click on the false output, if we look at the number of views, they'll show any number of views that are 10 and below. So you can see there's a couple like ones and zeros and tens because we didn't do an equals or more than. So if we go to the true, we'll see the number of reviews are all above 10, except for that one. Let's take a look at this. Oh, see, that's why it's important to check the types, because the number of views is still a string, which is why I was checking earlier. So let's change this to double and then go back to this. That's okay. So yes, because this is a double, it gives you numeric fields. If we go to room type, it kind of does more fields that are relevant to a string. So number of views is equal to 10. Sorry, it's greater than 10. So we'll run that again. Okay, that's more like it. So 10 below here in the false, above 10 in the true. Cool. And we want to stay for more than one night. So again, let me just double check my minimum nights is a double. It's a string, so let's change that to double. And then run it again. So basically the filter, so we're going to add another filter onto that latches to the true. So as you can see, I've kind of like hovered the filter tool around the true area, and it's just automatically made that connection for me. So I'm going to go back to my interface, select minimum nights, and I want one that is greater than, let's say, 2 nights. And I'm going to press run. And if I then click on my true output, I'm now looking at minimum nights above 2. So the minimum we'll see here is 3. Again, if I want to double check that my filters work properly, I'm going to go to my false output, sorry, and look at the minimum nights, and I'm seeing 2 and below. So that's fine. So basically, it's okay. So I'm now at a point where I'm happy with this. So as I kind of mentioned beforehand, we've got latitude and longitude fields. And Alteryx is really good at showing kind of spatial data. So what we're going to do is we're going to plot this, convert these into kind of like a centroid, so like a point on a map. So if we look at this input tool down here, this has London Ward City Merge shapefile. As you can kind of see the file name there, and that's a shape file. So this is a shapefile of the London wards. So we're going to turn this into like a shapefile and connect that to the latitude and longitude points of the names that we have here. So what we're going to do is change these latitudes and longitudes into centroid points. And we're going to do that by using the spatial tool called make point, or create point, sorry. So I'm going to drag this across. And again, it's connected to the true point. So I'm going to make sure I've got the right field. So longitude field to the longitude X field, and latitude to the latitude Y field. And I'm just going to add a browse tool to this. And then hit the run button. Now, when I click on the browse tool, you should get a map rendering here. It does take a second. And now you can see just about a map of London. And then these are all the individual points that we've plotted there. So if I click on one, you can kind of see here it's highlighted that particular location. And you can kind of do that. So if I click through, so each point here is an individual line in the data. So if we look at this one, it's going to also give me a map, and this is just the centroid of London. So what we're going to do is connect these two together so that we have the points, the shapefile of London and the wards or boroughs, and we're going to have each location of an Airbnb listing on that ward. So again, we're going to do a little bit of data prep because you can see there's a lot of additional fields that we don't need. And it's just a good rule of thumb to just remove extra columns and things that you don't need, because it's just extra bit of processing power that is wasted. Like, it's not a huge deal in this very small set, but when you're dealing with a lot larger, it does make sense to kind of get rid of them as you don't need them on as you keep going along. So we're going to go to our preparation column, kind of like panel, and drag the select tool onto the canvas. I've dragged this one a little bit further away, so it's not going to automatically connect. So again, I need to go to the output anchor and drag it to the input anchor of the select tool. And I'm just going to look at my fields. I need the name. I probably don't need the GSS code or the hectares. I basically just need the spatial object and the name. So I'm just going to deselect everything else. Oh, I'm going to keep the borough actually. And yeah, we're just going to, everything's in uppercase, so we're just going to rename these to lowercases. So as you're moving along and you decide that you want to change the name of a field, you basically just highlight that, just select the right field, go to rename, and I'm just going to do this lowercase name, and I'm going to rename this lowercase borough. Oh, and then I'm going to hit run again. And now the name and the borough is in lowercase, and we've got the spatial objects. So that's all we really need from this file. So we're going to go back up to here, and now we're going to connect these two things together. So to do this, we're going to go back to our spatial panel, and we're going to do spatial match. So I'm going to just move this out of the way, so there's more space here, and I'm just going to drag this onto the canvas. So you can see here, there's a couple different named inputs and outputs on this spatial map. So we've got T for target and U for universe. We've also got M for match and U for unmatched. I'm pretty sure that's unmatched. So you kind of need to configure the inputs what's going to what input basically. So we've got the target. So if you think about the spatial file here of the of London, that's going to be the universe. That's basically our base, and the points on of the listings is the target. So we want to, it's already done here, but so the listings go to target, and the spatial file goes to universe. And now we need to okay, so we're going to, there's a drop down here. So we've got this, the target, which is the centroid. That's the only spatial field that we've got. So that's the one that's going to fill in. And then we've got the universe, which is the wards or boroughs. And then there's only one spatial field there. So that's already there. And there's a couple of different options that you can use for a spatial match. So we've got when target intersects the universe, where target contains the universe, when target is within the universe, or when target touches the universe. So it basically just depends on kind of like what you need. We're gonna go with when target contains the universe. Well, actually, when target is within the universe. And again, if you've seen this interface before, there's another kind of like select interface inside the spatial match tool. So you can rearrange, get rid of, rename all the different fields here if necessary. And we're just going to add some browse tools to the endpoints, the outputs, so that we can see what's happening. So move that there, move that there, and then hit run and see what happens. Okay, so you can kind of see there's no unmatched and there's a lot of matched. So we're going to click on the matched and see what we get. And it looks like I configured it wrong. So what's happening here is that we've only matched together the points where there's a listing inside the universe kind of object, while we kind of need to have everything and not get rid of things that don't match. So if I click on the unmatched, okay, there's nothing, so nothing should show. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's taking forever. We'll just go back to this. And change my output. So try insects. Okay. Well, I guess we're only keeping the files that is relevant. So we're just gonna move these out the way, and that's basically all we need to do. So we're gonna go from the matched and then just output this to a format that can be used in Tableau. So we're just gonna go and add an output data file and then drag the matched to that. And then this is, I'm going to change the file format to, scroll all the way down to a Tableau hyperdata extract. So this hyper file, that's just so Tableau can kind of read it, and we just name it. Well, I'm not going to save this, but it's basically just this output. So there's enriched Airbnb data, so we'll just call that. Save, and then just run that data, and now it takes a sec, and it's now ready to be output. It's outputted and ready to be used in Tableau. So you can kind of see that we've got, it's kind of telling me what's going on here. So I've got just over 1,000 records, and it's been written to here. And if I wanted to, I could just click on this and it would just open. In Tableau, hopefully. Yes. So yeah, so you don't even need to go and locate it and then open it in Tableau. You can literally just click on that output file and it will kind of do that for you. But we will do it that way. So I'll open up another Tableau. And while I'm doing that, does anyone have any questions or want me to go over what I've kind of explained or anything before we move on to Tableau? Okay, I'm going to move on if no one has any questions. Okay. So to open up that hyperfile in Tableau, this is the interface that you'll see when you open it. We're going to go to connect. You can kind of see Tableau has a lot of different data connections. You can connect to the Tableau server. If your data set is hosted on a Tableau server of some sort, you can connect straight through it that way. You can connect to it through an Excel file, so an Excel or a text file, CSV. Those are JSON files, even a PDF file, spatial files. There's just a lot of different outputs or inputs that you can do there, as you can kind of see here. Or you can connect straight to different kind of servers. So we've got the most common ones like a SQL server, Amazon Redshift. We've even got web data connectors. There's the Microsoft Oracle there. And as you can see, it's like an absolute myriad of different databases that you can connect to. However, we need that hyperfile. So I'm going to go to more, which just opens up the search area, and I'm going to go to that file, which is like output, and I'm just going for this one. And now you can kind of see it's now reading in the data, and I'm just going to double check the kind of the file type. So you can see here, again, Tableau is kind of guessing at the file type, and you can kind of see here it's recognized that price is a number, and so it's saying that this data type is a number with a decimal point. Private room is just text, so it's just a string, and it's brought in the different shape files there, so you can kind of see this is kind of global. It's just saying it's like a map kind of thing, global one. So we're going to go to our sheet, and you can kind of see we've got dimensions and measures down the side here. So the measure is kind of just like is a value most of the time, and the dimension is kind of like a string or like a fixed value. So we've got green and blue pill. So if I just click on, let's bring borough in. So again, with the same with Alteryx, a lot of this is drag and drop. So I've just dragged borough from the data pane onto a sheet, and I'm gonna drag price onto the columns, and this will give me a bar chart. So you can kind of see, you can see very quickly like which borough has the most like accumulation of price. So you can see here prices summed together, so it's just added together. And obviously this is, at the moment, it's sorted by alphabetical order. I want to sort it by the price, so I can see which borough has the highest and which borough has the lowest. So I'm gonna right click on this, sorry, and go to sorts. And I'm gonna go down to field, and then go to price, and I want this descending so I can see the highest. And now you can see we've got the borough with the highest sum of prices together, and then lower down. You can also do this a little bit quicker by just using these ascending and descending icons at the top. So if I click on that, it's basically just doing what I've just done a little bit quicker. Again, please feel free to go into the chat and ask any questions you do have. As I'm going on, I will stop and walk you through or repeat what I need to. So these, you can see the pills are different colors. So when a pill is green, that means it's continuous. And when a pill is blue, that means it is discrete. So continuous pill means that its range is infinite. Price can be any kind of number. And so that can be from -1 million to +1 million. It can go any kind of range, an infinite number of ranges. And borough is a fixed amount. So it's only going to ever be Westminster or Tower Hamlets. It's not going to really be a combination. So kind of like the price, the measure kind of like is a value, and the dimension cuts it up into different ways. Does that make sense to everyone? If so, I'm just going to keep moving. I'm happy to repeat it again because it is a bit of a confusing process to kind of wrap your head around. And before we continue, let me just show you kind of what you can produce. So I'm just gonna, so we're gonna produce something like this very quickly. We haven't got too long, so I'm just gonna kind of like whiz through it a little bit faster. So you can kind of see we've got the average price per borough, average price per room, and the map of the rooms. So this is what we're gonna recreate in our new one here. So let's start with the average price per borough. So we've got currently the sum of the prices of the borough. So to change that, we're going to go right click, well, click on this little caret here. You can either click on there or right click anywhere on the pill. And then you go down to measure, sum, and you can kind of see the average here. So I'm going to click on the average, and now you can see it's wrapped in an AVG, so average. So we're looking at the average price per borough. Again, I want to see the max. So I'm going to, well, the biggest to smallest, so I'm going to go descending, and you can kind of see again, City of London is the highest and Bexley is the smallest. What is the lowest average price? That's okay. So that's what we've got here. And okay, so it's a red color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go over to my marks pane, which is over here, and I'm going to click on color. It's the default is blue. Let's go for this green here. So you just basically just click on any colors. You can have more colors if you've got your own custom HTML color or hex code. You can type it in here and it will just give you that particular one, or you can pick between the panel or things are there. You can change the opacity as well, so that green is kind of strong. Let's just drop it. And maybe I want a border as well. So I'm gonna put a black border around it. And maybe just increase the intensity as well. Cool. Does anyone want me to go through that again? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one, which is average price per room type. So again, I'm gonna go and create a new sheet. Actually, I'm gonna call this one average price. Cool. And I've renamed that, and it's now reflected up in the title here. So I'm going to create a new sheet, and we want to look at the average price per room type. So I'm going to find a dimension room type here. I'm going to either drag it and drop, or I can just double click and it appears on the panel on the canvas there. And then I'm going to drag price back onto here. So again, we wanted it more horizontal. So I'm just going to, I can either move these around and drop this here and put that there. So it's down like horizontal, or I can use this swap rows and columns to just do that for me. There's a couple of ways to do everything. And I want to have a distinction. Oh, so this is sum again. So I'm going to right click and change this to average, and then change the sort so it's in order. And at the moment, they're all the same color. I want to have some variation, so it's kind of very clear to see which one is which. Well, I'm going to do that, I'm going to drag the room type dimension onto the color pane. And now that's given me 3 distinct colors, and I've got a legend here as well. So if I decide I don't like these colors, I can go to edit colors, and it gives me those 3 there, and I can pick different ones. So let's go with this summer panel. And to change it, I just click on the one I want to change. And then, so I've got entire home apartment selected here. Let's say I want to make it this kind of green color. I just select it and then select the color. Private room, I want to be this teal looking color. And shared room is going to be pink. And then once you've made those changes, you just hit apply, and you can see it reflected in your sheet there. So I'm going to click OK, and there's that. I'm going to call this one average price per room. And then the last one is the Matlin Rooms. So we're going to create another sheet. And if I click on area shape, it's double. Oh, okay. So yeah, so I needed to double click on host location, and that has created a generated latitude and longitude, and it's basically just giving me my map that I need. This is just one shapefile at the moment, so if I hover over it, it's selecting everything. There's no way to kind of tell me what's going on here. So I'm going to drag on host ID onto detail, and then that now is giving me the individual points, and I can add more information. So I'm going to go host name as well, and now it's telling me what's going on there. And if I put borough onto color, it's now broken up those individual boroughs into colors. So you can kind of see, so if I wanted to see Barking Dagenham, I click on that, and I can see all the area, locations in that area. So same with Hackney, Merton. The issue with colors here is that sometimes there's only a maximum number of colors in a panel. So they may repeat if you've got more than, I think, 20 different areas. So I think you don't want boroughs. So you can swap out the colors for basically any kind of dimension. So we're going on boroughs at the moment. I can put in room type, and now it's telling me the majority of the rooms are private rooms, and we've got a couple of shared rooms dotted in together like that. So it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So I'm going to reduce the opacity, and you can kind of get a better idea of what's going on there. So now we've kind of built our base sheets. We're going to create a dashboard. So I do that by hovering over the new dashboard icon here. And this is telling me to drop my sheets. So I can see my sheets here, and I'm just going to start dragging them on. And we kind of got a somewhat replica of this here. So one of the really powerful things about Tableau is that you can kind of well, let me actually, let me just change the shape of this so it's filled in a little bit more on the screen. What you can do is you can do dashboard actions, which is basically like clicking on one thing to either filter or highlight something else. So you can kind of get a good idea of, you can kind of like drill down and explore your data a lot better. So I'm going to just show you one way of doing it, which is just clicking on this little icon here, which is just, you can see it's like a funnel. So it's used as a filter. So we're gonna click on that. And what this does, it's now gonna filter these boroughs. Now, if I click on a borough, it will filter the rest of the sheets to that particular borough. So if I click on City of London, we're now looking at the borough of the City of London here, and you can kind of see the average price of the rooms. So there are no shared rooms in City of Borough, but City of London, sorry, which is why that one has disappeared, and we've already got entire home apartments and private rooms. And if I click on Westminster, then we've got some more shared rooms. And I can also use this as a filter, so it'll be filtering the two together. So if I click on this, so it's now, we're filtering on Westminster, and we're going to look at shared rooms. So we're now looking at just those two together, and we're just looking at the different shared rooms in Westminster. Now, this is also filtered the average price per borough sheet, and it's now ranking it by the shared room, the average price of the shared rooms in each borough. So you can see Westminster has dropped fairly low because it's 31, which is low compared to other places. So to get rid of the filters, you can see it's filtered by, this is kind of grayed out in the background. The one that you are filtered is bold and it has a black outline to it. So to get rid of the filter, I just re-click on it and you can see all the numbers are back in the foreground. But this one is still filtered by everything else being kind of grayed out and it's bold. So click on this and now everything is back to normal. We can add filters to these things as well. So if I'm going to go to this drop down and then go to filters and then go to average price. And we've got a little kind of like scrolling bar here, which I can see the minimum and the maximum average price. So let's say you're interested and you only want to see the average price of 100. Well, 99.9, that's good enough. This is now filtering this particular one, but maybe I want to filter the other two as well. So it's kind of showing. I'm just going to go drop down, apply to all worksheets, and then select worksheets, and then select the other two. So this filter is now affecting all the worksheets, and you can kind of see that there are, so this is just the shared rooms and average price, and it's only in these three boroughs, and it's only these particular ones. So that's not filtered, so nothing's going to happen. But if I click on this, we're now looking at seeing the shared rooms, which are just in Camden that are 100 and above. So yeah, so that's how you can kind of just keep clicking around and just discovering different parts of your data. You can change, you can go in and you can change the average prices from, if you want to do sum, that's probably not the best way to do it, but there's different options to do it. You want to do counts as well. You can kind of sort out, you can sort by, get rid of this. So we're now looking at the number of different lines in the data. So Tableau Hamlets has the most options. So we click there, we filter it, you can kind of see what's going on there. And you can go through and everything updates as we go along. Cool. So I think this was supposed to only go up to 1 o'clock. So I think that's about time. Again, all this stuff is in the link that I've sent you. So you feel free to download it, play around with the data. And yeah, does anyone have any questions before I sign off? Cool. So it doesn't seem like there's any questions. So thank you for spending your, I assume, your lunch here. Yeah. And thank you for watching. I hope I helped. And again, like everything's there. My email is, I'll drop my email in this actually. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to fire off one to me, and I will help you out as much as I can. All right. Thank you for your time, everyone. All right. Have a good evening.